Welcome back to Farida's Sri Lankan recipes. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make oxtail soup, Sri Lankan style. These are the ingredients. I don't use potatoes or cabbage in this because the potatoes become all starchy and then it changes the flavor. But I have here leeks, 1 stalk of leeks finely, thinly sliced like this, 1 stalk of celery chopped finely, 2 medium Roma tomatoes chopped, 4 or 5 carrots. These are organic, so they're awkwardly shaped and they're different sizes. 1 red onion chopped, 5 to 6 cloves of garlic, and a thumb-sized piece of ginger chopped like that. We have 1 tablespoon of cumin powder, 1 tablespoon of coriander, 1 tablespoon of pepper. You could go lower on any of these things. 1 tablespoon of whole peppercorns, 1 teaspoon of fenugreek, and 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric. You have to have a big pot with a heavy bottom. Start sauteing with 1 tablespoon of oil, vegetable oil, the chopped onions, and the garlic and ginger and the celery. I put in the onions and the celery first. I start with the onions, I let it sweat a little bit, and then I add the celery. And I let that get mixed into the onions a little bit as well. I'm telling you, the soup is going to be so delicious, but it is a tiny, there's a little tiny difference between how all Sri Lankans make it and this one. Just a tiny tweak that I made that ended up enhancing the flavor so much. There's the ginger and the garlic. Now mix that all up, and at this point, I put the lid on after mixing everything up, and I go to a separate saucepan to lightly sear the oxtails because I pre-marinate the oxtails and I like to seal in all of that flavor. So there's the oxtail. So it's about 1/2 pound of oxtail and 1/4 pound of chunky stew beef is what I used. I do like some meat in there, so I like to add some chunky stewing beef to this soup. Otherwise, oxtail has very little meat in it. So why I do this is so that the little bit of marinade that I put in this, which is like cayenne pepper, paprika, you can use whatever you like. I don't want that to mix too much with the soup. I don't want that to go into the soup as much. I want it to be in the meat only, so I sear it in, kind of locking in the flavors. That's what all the chefs are saying, that if you put it in the oil and sear it, that's what will happen. So just take their word for it, and that's what I do. So I let that sear a couple of minutes on each side, and then I go back to this here. You can see that the onions are a little bit sweated out. These are green chilies. I forgot to mention this in the ingredients before. 2 long green chilies sliced on the bias. I add that to the mixture at this point when the onions start to look a little bit transparent, and then the tomatoes. Mix it all up. Give it a real good mix so that everything is combined together and it's not like, tomatoes on one side and chilies on one side. And so mix it thoroughly. And then I add the dry spices, all of it. I put all of it together. See, because this is a soup and it's going to just, be infused into the entire pot, I just add all of it at this point. I get it mixed into the base ingredients before I add all of the other vegetables. Now, the coriander seeds and the fenugreek, you should probably pound it down in a mortar and pestle or in a spice grinder if you have one. I was I was under the impression that I had the powders already, and I realized I didn't. So there we go. There's the carrots. At this point, after mixing all of the dry ingredients, the carrots and the leeks. And at this point, I'm just going to mix all of it in together, get all of the seasonings, rubbed and mixed right into the vegetables first. before I go ahead and add the stock or the meat. And then I'm going to show you the little tweak that I make. So my mom makes this soup often when we have a cold and stuff. It's an immune boosting soup, but she adds plain water instead of stock. Most Sri Lankans will add plain water also, and some will use some bouillon cubes. I add this stock, this beef broth, bone broth actually. I posted this video a couple of weeks ago. I will leave the link below. This little tweak will make all the difference. Now, you don't have to use the beef bone broth that's made at home. You can use store-bought. I don't like store-bought. You can use vegetable or chicken just to, you know, take the flavor down a little notch too, because this is a heavy, very dense flavor once you add the beef bone broth. But I like this. I add the broth. I add about, how many cups? I don't want to say how many cups, like 2 whole jars of it. And then once I mix everything up, I put in the seared oxtails and the seared chunky stewing beef into the pot. I give it a little mix, and then I put the lid on. I bring it up to a boil for a minute, and then turn down the stove to about a medium or under medium, and I let it cook for about 45 minutes. The carrots will be soft at that point and whatnot. Now, once it's thoroughly cooked at this point, now my broth does not have any salt. So once it's thoroughly cooked, I add salt. I always add salt at the end. Add salt to taste. That's really entirely up to you how much you use. This is how it looks. If you can see the color of this soup and the thickness of it, it's a lot denser and thicker. It's a heavy, deep flavor. It's a lot better than using just plain water. This is our oxtail soup. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you try it at home. If you like it, please do click the like button and subscribe, okay? Thank you.